In the 1960s, car manufacturers were pushing the boundaries of imagination, but few concepts were as radical as the Ford Gyron from 1961. This wasn't a car in the traditional sense. It was an experimental capsule that looked more like a vehicle from another planet than something meant for public roads. With just two wheels aligned in a straight line, a futuristic UFO-like body, and the idea of gyroscopic stabilization, the Gyron became one of the boldest automotive visions ever created. It wasn't designed to compete with other cars. It was meant to redefine the future. The idea for the Gyron dates back to the late 1950s, when Ford was heavily investing in futuristic concept vehicles. This was an era inspired by aviation, rockets, and the space race. The project was led by the Ford Advanced Design Studio, headed by Alex Tremulous, one of the most imaginative designers of his time. Tremulous believed that the future of automobiles lay in aerodynamics, and that a two-wheeled, gyroscopically balanced vehicle could achieve unprecedented efficiency. The concept was influenced by earlier experiments with gyroscopic vehicles, as well as rival projects like General Motors' Firebird III. However, Tremulous wanted to go even further. Together with designer Sid Mead, he pushed Ford to approve a full-scale prototype. The goal was not only to create a striking design, but also a research platform that could explore new engineering possibilities. The Ford Gyron was unveiled in 1961 at the Detroit Auto Show and later displayed at the famous Ford Rotunda, one of the most visited exhibition venues in the United States at the time. Its appearance alone drew massive crowds. With its smooth, enclosed body and lack of traditional four wheels, many visitors could hardly believe they were looking at a car. Technically, the Gyron was just as extraordinary as its design. The vehicle was built around two wheels, one at the front and one at the rear, similar to a motorcycle. In theory, it was supposed to be stabilized by a large gyroscope measuring around 60 centimeters in diameter. This system would have allowed the vehicle to remain upright even when stationary, eliminating the need for additional support. In reality, the full-scale prototype was never equipped with a working gyroscope. Instead, small side-mounted stabilizers with wheels were used to keep the car balanced. These supports were intended to retract while driving and deploy only at low speeds or when stopped. It was a practical compromise that allowed Ford to present the concept without the enormous cost and complexity of a real gyroscopic system. The propulsion system was equally modest. The Gyron was powered by a small electric motor, capable of reaching a top speed of about 5 miles per hour, or roughly 8 kilometers per hour. This made it more of a rolling laboratory than a functional vehicle. Performance was never the goal. Demonstration and innovation were. The interior was just as futuristic as the exterior. Two passengers sat side by side in an enclosed cabin, facing a large control interface. Designers envisioned features such as computerized navigation, a radio telephone, adaptive driving systems, and large display screens. Technologies that sounded like science fiction in the 1960s, but are now commonplace. The body was constructed from fiberglass, a modern material at the time that allowed for complex shapes and reduced weight. Aerodynamics played a central role in the design. The Gyron was shaped like a teardrop or aircraft fuselage, minimizing air resistance. This focus on airflow was at the heart of Tremulous's vision. Ford never intended to put the Gyron into production. It was purely an experimental concept, created for research and marketing purposes. Only one full-scale prototype was built, along with a few smaller models. From the beginning, it was clear that this was a glimpse into the future, not a practical vehicle. Unfortunately, the Gyron's story came to a sudden end. In 1962, the Ford Rotunda building was destroyed in a fire, and with it, the original Gyron prototype was lost. It was a significant loss, as the car represented a unique and ambitious piece of automotive history. Today, only a few scale models remain as evidence of its existence. The Gyron never had an official price, as it was never intended for sale. However, The cost of its development must have been substantial, especially considering the research into gyroscopic systems and advanced design. It was more of a scientific project than a commercial product. Today, the surviving scale models have become valuable collector's items. One of them was sold at auction in 2012 for around $40,000, far above initial estimates. If the original full-scale prototype had survived, it would likely be worth millions as one of the most unique concept cars ever created. The Ford Gyron remains a symbol of an era when imagination knew no limits. It was a car that was never meant to reach the road, yet it influenced how engineers and designers thought about the future. It proved that the automobile could be more than just transportation. It could be a vision, an experiment, and a bold step into the unknown.